Eden, do you know when Hanukkah is this year?
Actually, I do.
Okay, I was curious.
It starts. Wait, do you know?
I sure do, because I looked it up and I said, "Oh, I know that date."
It starts on Christmas, baby.
Oh yes, and then your birthday's right after on the 26th.
It is. So now it really is. I am gonna get. I don't even. I was gonna say I only get one gift, but you know what? I don't care. Like I don't care about gifts at all. Like gifts are for children. I don't care. I don't need a gift.
When you did Hanukkah growing up, did you do the gifts every single night?
When we were like children, we did like little trinkets every night. We didn't get like 8 huge presents. And also like I always thought, I think it was when I realized that people kept getting gifts into adulthood, when I started doing Christmas because of Granny, because his family does Christmas, I only started doing Christmas as an adult. And they were like, give me your list. And I was like, my list? What are you talking about? Like I'm a grown adult. I don't need, is that what we do? Oh, do we have to like get each other things? We're grown-ups though. But we're grown-ups. Yeah. Oh, what? So yeah, we got gifts, but like it still stresses me out, the idea of gifts. I think it's bizarre.
Cameron's very good at giving gifts. I am horrific, and it's never my go-to. It's not, I'm also much more like, I have very much a carbon copy of my dad when he said he's like, if I can't eat it, drink it, or experience it, I'm okay. He goes, I don't need stuff. I want experiences. Or he goes, and if you don't even want to get me that, he goes, a card, a phone call. That's all I need. And that's truly how I am as well.
My God, that is exactly, yes. I want an experience. Give me, oh my God, yes, take me out to dinner. Ooh,
yes.
Take me out to dinner, baby.
Ooh, yeah. Some nice restaurant with a cocktail and expensive food. Absolutely. I'll take that any day of the week.
So Brock, do you know when Christmas is this year?
Okay. I think this year it's Christmas Eve is on the 24th. I'll have to double check that. And Christmas Day I think is the 25th. But I'll double check that and get back to you.
You'll be able to remember because it starts on Hanukkah. That's how you'll remember.
Oh yeah. Oh good. Oh yeah.
So this week we are of course breaking down an episode I'm also very excited to talk about, 110 Christmas. And we are going to talk to our fabulous costume designer Julia Caston, because there were some really, really amazing, I feel like there were some good establishing wardrobe costumes this episode.
Yeah, of course. All that and so much more. So let's get to middling.
Welcome to Middling with Eden and Brock, where we break down an episode of the middle. If you don't know by now, it's episode 110. Brock, tell me everything.
Okay, on Patreon, they're not going to see the photo, but I'm going to show you the photo. So I showed you the thing I'm filming, the makeup test. I showed you the test. I'm going to show you, because they had to go, that was a level 1 that I showed you, and then they had to do a level 3 for when we filmed. Look at, it's going to be a reaction of your face, and not this, because I can't show this, but...
That is so upsetting, Brock.
Look what's going on.
Are you allowed to say what I'm looking at?
So I have to get covered in body paint, and they have to make me look sick. It's rough. So they have to like completely cover my body in this paint, this makeup, and then because we're like rolling around and wearing all these costumes, and they have to like shellac us, so they put on this sealer, and I stick to myself, and it's the most painful and hard thing to get off, because they have to dip these, they do paper towels before they get into the cloth towels, but they dip paper towels in oil, and then they just all over my body to get it off. But then Barbasol, the shaving cream, gets off the rest of the body paint.
And you do that in the trailer, or like you do that when you get home?
Both. They do 90%, and there's just also this, so they try to get everything, and then eventually they can't. But then I went home from work last week, and I got into the shower, and I used my own shaving cream to try and get it off. But I got out of the shower, and Cameron said, "Brock, there's still a strip of makeup on the underside of your ass cheek." Wait a second. Your ass cheek is on, like you need to get makeup on your ass cheek? Because I wear shorty shorts, and so when I'm laying down, when certain things are happening when I'm laying down, the makeup people got in trouble during day one because they didn't go high enough, and so they're racing against time trying to fill it in right before we're about to roll. And so the next day I went back. She goes, "Can you hike up your shorts as high as they'll go?" And I said, "I don't think I'll ever see that far." And she goes, "I know, but I got yelled at yesterday, so I'm just covering my bases."
And by bases, she means your ass cheeks. Well, that photo is disturbing, and I hope that. It's great. It's great. I'm actually very excited to see this episode.
Me too. It's been fun though. I don't know if you feel this way today. This episode or this thing that I'm working on, it feels. When do you remember? And it hadn't happened to me until probably, it happened a little bit on the middle, but like as I've been jumping from new projects, there hasn't been anything as consistent as the middle, but going to this new thing, I don't want to say the shine or the excitement of getting to work wasn't there as fully as it is when I normally film something brand new. It felt a little bit like, okay, I'm excited. I'm coming to work. I know what's off that I need to fix or what's not completely going swimmingly from the production side. So I know the extra work that I need to do to make sure that I'm doing it. I need to make sure that my through line is there. It's still fun and exciting, but it feels much more like dropped in. Do you feel that way?
Yes, 100%. I think the longer you work, you realize like it's a job. Mm-hmm. You become more confident in like yourself doing the work. So you're not really like, you don't have the like butterflies of like, ooh, what is this going to be? Like, you know exactly what it's going to be. You know what you have to do. You do it. And you like, it's kind of, I feel about it the way I like when people are like, you'll never have another first love. And it's like, thank God. Because also too much.
It's just too much. Your emotions are always you always come home when I have those like excitements. I come home exhausted because I'm just doing everything. That's not even work. I'm constantly living at a 10. But also totally. I'm finding that because my brain isn't so like, ooh, it's exciting, it's this, it's that. My work is better a little bit too, because also I have the confidence to be like, oh, in this scene, I need that moment. So we're walking in, I can see the director going, okay, blocking wise, and not as like an ass, but I just having the confidence to say, I think I should be in the center between these two guys because I need to be able to have that moment and that moment. And so I assume you'll want to get it from both ways so we can get that moment and then I'll turn over that way and you can get that moment. And she's like, oh yes, absolutely. So if I were living at that 10, I don't think I would have the wherewithal to know to do that kind of stuff, but because it just feels a little bit more dropped in. And again, the shine, it's still fun and exciting and living your dream, whatever, but it's feels just a little bit more dropped in, which I think is a lot better from a work perspective, for me at least.
I think it's okay that the shine's not there. You don't need it. The shine is blinding. You know, you need to be able to, like you said, you see clearly. You want to see clearly. And I feel like the same very similar experience with shooting this short a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was just like, where I remember, because also with the short, you don't have a lot of time. This is not like this, where it's a big budget, like actual real job. But it was like, I remember the DP didn't tell me to stand super close to the camera for the reverse coverage of another actor. And I just saw him looking so far to the left. And I was like, hey, I know you don't, I noticed like you haven't put an X on the matte frame for my eyeline. Do you want me to, because it was really cramped. And I think she didn't want to like tell me to be cramped, or she didn't want to like, she was like, oh, maybe she'll get mad or whatever. And I was like, right. Do you want me to just like sneak in here? Because this is not natural as an actor, but like, I think she didn't want to like upset me. And I was like, I can like just like lean. I'll just lean all the way to the side so that he has a better eyeline. She was like, thank you so much. Yes, that would really, really be great. And the same thing for the other person. He was just like walking really far, and because he just wasn't as experienced. And I was like, no man, walk this way. Walk 2 feet to your left. You have to walk like it does. He's like that, or he was like, I don't have a room. And I was like, I know, but they'll never use the shot. Like as you come close, they'll cut before. Yeah, you have to just do it. And it's like, I wouldn't have the confidence to say that if I didn't know, if I was like, or if I was timid or whatever. So I'm so happy for you, Brock. I'm so happy you said that.
That's probably a universal experience for any job, right? The more comfortable you are with something, the more you know without being you know what needs to be done in order for a good job to happen. It just so happens that we're on camera, for millions of people.
I love it. You're so
Thanks.
fantastic. I'm so happy that we could talk about how much we've grown and how fantastic we are at our jobs.
Yes. Eden, should we do some, as you called it last week, mid-mins?
Mid-mins.
The middle
minutes. So here we are, episode 110. We've made it to Christmas. This feels like such a. I can't believe we've made it this far. I can't believe we've been doing the podcast for Christmas. We made it. I feel like we're halfway through the season. So here we go. To allow Frankie to focus on rehearsing for an honored solo. That's Wikipedia.
It sure is.
For an honored solo in her church's midnight Christmas service, Mike takes over handling the many chores of setting up the Heck family Christmas. The family then oversleep. Was this written by British people? The family
I don't
then
know. Oversleep.
No. It would be oversleeps if it was in American English. But the family then oversleep and nearly miss Frankie's solo. I went a little Australian at the end. The family, of course, oversleeps and nearly miss Frankie's solo. Meanwhile, Rick becomes depressed over losing a toy, has an existential crisis, Axel gets a job, and Sue is confused when her boyfriend still hasn't kissed her after a month of dating.
And after 10 episodes of doing this podcast, this is now the second time you've tried doing a British accent that has gone Australian. Because you tried to do the Love Island accent.
Did I?
Or you said,
I don't remember.
Nick is my type on paper.
In my defense, in my defense, I have to say that my kids are constantly like, will you speak mum language? Meaning the mom from Bluey. They want me to just speak in an Australian accent. So I'm constantly working on my Australian accent. So I'm going in and out all day. So it'll just creep in. So I'll just be like, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Or nor. That's why.
I know.
Oh, this was written by a very funny human being. He's written so many of our favorite middle episodes. Roy Brown, directed by Reginald Hudlin.
The guest cast: Chris Kattan is Bob. He's back, baby. Charles Doherty as the choir director, Dirk Torsick as Reverend Haver, Donovan Scott as Santa, Joseph Whipp as Mike's boss, and someone who was listed second, but I saved him for last.
Oh, the and credit. Me and Meryl Streep always ask for and credits.
The with.
Yeah.
Brock Ciarlelli as Brad Bottig.
This aired Wednesday, December 9th, our last episode of 2009, by the way. At 8, of course, 8:30, 7:30 Central to, get this, Eden, 7.69 million viewers, which has been our highest viewership since the pilot. So pilot still had a little bit more, but that's our highest viewership since the pilot. That's great. We jumped. That's a huge spike.
We jumped like over 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Guess people were into that last episode, and they were like, okay, I'll come back.
Yeah.
Top movie of the week is The Blind Side, and the top song of the week, you guessed it, it won't quit. Empire State of Mind by Jay-Z and Alicia Keys. I
haven't looked ahead, and I know you haven't either. I'm wondering how long this stays. I'm guessing for a long time. We'll find out. We'll find out. All right, so those are the mid-mins, the middle minutes, and so now when we come back, we're going to break down the episode. Okay, so let's get into it. Christmas, our first holiday episode. Actually, before we begin, how did you feel like filming Christmas episodes as a Jewish person? Does that cross your mind? Did you mind? Do you care? Is it what it is?
I don't care. No, I don't care. I don't mind. It did get a little. I learned a lot about church things. Sure. I was gonna say, I'm excited to talk about this episode because I'm remembering I was watching it back, being like, oh, there were things that I just accepted. I had so many. I was like, I don't understand the timeline of this episode. I don't understand. Why are we asleep? Why are we asleep? Why are we leaving at 11 p.m.? Why are we going someplace at midnight? This doesn't make sense. Something's off. Like something's happening. Someone hasn't thought of something. This doesn't make any sense. And then it took a while to like midnight mass. I was just like, well, what's mass? What's mass anyway? And I guess I've heard that word before. When it got church heavy, I was like, I just kind of tuned out. I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna do whatever. But like, I feel like I got to live out a little bit of whenever I got to like open presents Christmas morning. I was like, oh, is this what the guys do? Okay, this is fun. This is fun.
Well, good. I'm glad you got that experience then at least. And now you do too, because Nick, you guys do Christmas with Nick.
Yeah, now his family does Christmas. So I actually, as an adult, I've learned we do like a very secular Christmas. It's not like especially because it was such a huge it was a source of conflict. It was a source of tension. Yeah, we had to have a big talk about like whether we're gonna have a Christmas tree, and I was like, absolutely not. And then he was like, hey, if our kids are going to Hebrew school and like being bat mitzvahed and do it like. I grew up with a Christmas tree. It's very important to me. It's very special to me. It's going to be special. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to.
There you go.
This is what marriage is.
Yeah, of course.
Let's have a Christmas tree. That's fine.
Wait, and then I assume you guys also have a menorah as well.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think we're usually the norm, but we do Christmas presents on Christmas Eve and then stockings from Santa. So usually a lot of people do like family presents and like Santa comes and that's all happening on Christmas morning, Christmas Day, Christmas night on actual the 25th. But we do like family gifts on the 24th. But
I like that.
I do too.
I like that because then it's not like one big like, and then it's over.
Yeah, exactly.
That's been my biggest learning curve about Christmas, that I'm like, oh, it really is like a month, 2 months of just like the energy build, and then just like one day. And I'm like, and then it's just over. And then it's my birthday and everyone's too tired to celebrate.
Well, exactly, because you're the day after. Everyone's hungover from Christmas and holiday and celebrating. And then you're like, but hello, my birthday. Yeah. But you're right. It's just all this. It happens in the episode where Frankie and Mike are fighting in the kitchen, and Axel goes, there's Christmas." It just like
totally.
That encapsulates it all. Okay, so let's talk about the episode. Frankie sits in Frankie sits in the laundry room / computer room and writes her Christmas card letter. She gladly types that she got a job at Ehlert's, which again, ding, ding, ding. She mentioned she worked at a dental office, which I thought that was a brand new career for her, but she'd already worked at a dental office. So
I was like, is that a flub or is that like, because didn't they introduce it as a new career?
I think so. So that's now 2 episodes in a row where they've done something and then they've returned to it and made it brand new. Again, I'm curious if I'm misremembering if they did actually reintroduce it, because it truly could just be as simple as like, I'm going back to dental school, but this time I'm actually like doing the education for it. You know what I mean? There could definitely be a line like that, but for some reason I have it stuck in my mind. You created Wrestlerettes and that Frankie dental school is a brand new thing for her.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see a lot of these things happen again.
Mike got promoted to manager. Axel joined the workforce, and she struggles to find something for Sue until she lands on Sue has a boyfriend. We were talking about this a little bit off mic. So that little flash where you and I are under the mistletoe, right? And I won't kiss you for the first time. That we were talking about how this episode was a behemoth to shoot because the schedule was crazy. And I remember because we talked about this last episode with Atticus, but I was still under 18. I was 17. And so I was still working those kid hours, and I had to be out by like 8 p.m. or whatever it was. And we had truly a split second to film that. And they were trying so hard to make sure that I was done and that the cameras had like cut off right at 8 o'clock and that they came in right with the clipboard so I could sign it as soon as they yelled cut to make sure that they didn't go overtime on those kid hours.
Oh yeah. I have no recollection of that. I cannot believe, and maybe I should wait to say this until after, but I cannot believe watching this episode because I watched it through a new lens, knowing that you were only intended to be in these 2 episodes. I was like, oh, they did close off the story. They did. They said, well, I can't date him now. And that was going to be it. I can't imagine. That is such a crazy, like, they were so smart to just bring you back because that would be, oh my God, what a missed opportunity that would have been.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's, I see it now. I see the arc and I see what they were going for. And I'm so happy that they reneged. They were like, no, this is too good.
It's one of those things where like, okay, they served we generated this character and we cast it and we shot it, but then they probably had an idea of, they were maybe testing, the kids now need friends. And so do we create a new character for a friend, or do we bring back someone that already exists that kind of they had good chemistry with? And so that kind of feels a little bit like that. I do remember, because I was still obviously in Colorado, I would fly out that Wednesday before we would shoot for the table read, fly home that same day, and then come back out to film. And I remember, because in these shows, writers' rooms, how at least on networks, they're different for streamers like Netflix and things you see on Hulu and stuff like that. They're writing as they're filming, and so they're doing all these edits and all this kind of stuff. I didn't get the literal script in the email from the script department for the table read until I was at Denver International Airport the morning of the table read, flying to, and it got sent at like, I don't know, 3 a.m. or something crazy. But because they were in the writer's room working those late hours as you do on these shows in the beginning, in their first season. But I remember, because I always knew that it was destined to only be 2 episodes, and just how they wrapped it up, I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I think I totally get it. I yes, that would have been, I totally get the like, oh yeah, okay, they closed it out. All right, like, that's a bummer. Like, you probably had so many ideas, like, oh, we could do so many other things. But I think we were talking about this last episode about how, sometimes especially with young people, they just treat, especially with boys, especially with like the concept, the trope of the little gay boy is like it's such an easy punchline. And I think like everyone, if you're a theater person or if you're just like a goofy, if you're like, I had absolutely crushes on gay boys, 100%. Because of musical theater, and those are the only boys you're around. And so like everyone's had a gay boyfriend when they're 12 or 13. And so that's what it was going to be. It was just going to be like, Sue has a gay boyfriend. She doesn't know. And they could have done that, but instead they chose to like, oh no, it doesn't just have to be a punchline. He could be a real person. Like, this could be a fun, like, because that's also way more real. You don't just, look at me, these are my best friends. Yeah, I had crushes on them. And then they were, when they didn't like me back. Oh, when they didn't like me back.
Right.
You're still friends with them. Yeah. They're they're like still your best friends. So I was happy that they played the reality of it,
Yeah.
Okay, so this episode. Okay, so they're at church now. At church. Weird for me, but I was like, okay, I'm getting the church experience. Frankie, oh no, I'm not at church yet. It's just Frankie and Bob. They're singing in the choir. Frankie expresses her concerns to Bob about Brick's melancholy demeanor, his existential crisis, and she's thrilled to learn that she might get a chance at the solo since Melanie Howard has throat polyps.
So
which
good.
I do love. I did love the scene in church with all of us where they're like, and please pray for Melanie Howard, and Patty's like,
don't you dare. So good. And then so when they're at home, Mike tells Frankie he'll take on all the Christmas responsibilities. Frankie warns him how hard it is, but he says it's a piece of cake, and lo and behold, it's not.
I've done that. I've also done that with my husband, where he's like, don't worry, I'll do it. And I'm like, you sure though? You sure? And he's like, how hard can it be? And I'm like, okay, you drive the kids to my mom's. Yeah, you're right. It sounds like an easy task, but something happens always.
Wait till they're screaming and they're crying and you got to get them into the car seats and all the things. It's not just the driving. And
I should say he's a really, really good dad, but not the point of this right now. At church, Sue is worried that Brad won't kiss her. Wait, that's where we are, right? Yeah. Yeah, there she is. She's saying that she's worried about it, and Frankie says it's because he's a gentleman.
Oh, I do. This was, again, a lot of firsts for me in this. So this is my first time on location. So we shot this. A lot of the things that you guys have seen so far have been things that they've built, right? These sets that they built. So the social worker's office or, maybe a bar or something like that. Those are things that they've built on the soundstage. Where this, we went to an actual church, I don't know, a mile away from Warner Brothers. And I remember that for the first time being like shuttled over there, and they had our trailers over there. And it just felt like I just remember being like, this is so much money. At home, Frankie gets the solo and starts to feel left out when Mike is doing all the fun Christmas activities. But Frankie puts her foot down and takes Brick to see Santa herself. But Brick just ends up making Santa bummed out.
And I will just say, interject one last time, not going to be the last time, that's a lie, that the Brick thing really, really hit home because that is my kids, only 3, but they're obsessed with death. Obsessed with their kitties who are dead or their little puppies who are dead, and they do this all the time. I told a story that they did it at the Children's Museum in New York, but they just do it everywhere, where they, around other kids or around anyone, they'll just hold out air in their hands and just say like, my kitty is dead. Or like, look, kitty died. We're like, oh, and like, yeah, the birdie was sick and then she died. And it's like, oh, okay, how does that make you feel? Like, nothing. So I get it. Bumming Santa's out.
Also, that was something that like quick little flash of Santa. Granted, it wasn't the most elaborate set, but that's still a new set. So again, these holiday episodes, we talked about this with Thanksgiving a couple weeks ago, and with Christmas, they do seem to, I guess, save those budgets for these big holiday episodes. And I guess, for this, it kind of panned out because again, like we said, this had a really, really, really big viewership. So it makes sense, and they got their money's worth. But I'm also I'm curious to talk to Julie about this because not only you guys are in outfits that you don't usually wear. You're in like Christmas, gear and Christmas PJs and stuff like that. But then she's also had to dress to Santa. There's like all these new elements and like Axel's in his outfit. So, I mean, we'll talk to Julie about all this, but for this episode particularly, this is a lot of extra work from a costuming perspective. For these holiday episodes, which I'm glad we're having her to ask her about this. And
literal extra work, like background work, because they have to dress all of them, and they have to make sure they all fit into the color palette of the show. So I think big background scenes, this is a really good one for wardrobe.
Yeah. And then at home, Sue thinks Brad is about to kiss her, but he ends up applying chapstick because her lips are really chapped. And Frankie tells Mike to stop doing the fun stuff, and the only thing that she wants him to do is to fix Brick. I have a couple things. One, this is the genesis of, I don't know if we talked about it a lot on the show, or maybe it's just the genesis of my glossy lips, because
I knew you were going to say this.
My lips were always glossy. And then so Tyson, our makeup artist on the show, and and Heather and whoever was doing my particular makeup for that day, they had a photo of glossy lips. And then Tyson one day, this is years into the future, was like, let's just kind of press the gas and let's see if we can make them like really shiny. And then, so we filmed that episode, and you needed sunglasses to look at me. And then the next episode I came in, there was that photo from that episode printed out on the mirror. And he said, so I got a note from producers that we need to take it down a notch. And he goes, this is the line. He would say, this is the line we cannot cross, is this. So no Crisco for you.
I 100% noticed that as well. I was like, oh, those are shimmer. Those are glossy. Like, that is not, little like shimmer. Like, you could see a sheen with chapstick. That was lip gloss. That
was gloss. That was lip gloss. Oh, and then also, this I remember because then we were in the background making cookies or whatever we were, right, as they're talking about the village, right, Mike and Frankie. And I don't know if you remember this, but we're supposed to be going and making these cookies and baking and rolling and cutting them out and putting on the tray. And I don't think I said anything to you, but in my mind, I was like, okay, well, they're talking about this particular part of the scene. She wasn't rolling she was rolling the last time at that line, and she's not rolling at this line. She's getting the cookie tray. And I didn't want to say anything. But also, I noticed because I take the tray and I was so worried about being loud that you can see me so softly set down the metal like baking sheet so I didn't make any kind of noise being in the background like that.
Honestly, that's like very, very advanced observation. I feel like for someone who didn't work for this being your first real job, for you to be like concerned about continuity in that way, that is not a noob thing. I feel like a noob would be the opposite, where they'd be like, I don't know, I'm gonna do it this time. Let's do it different this time. So like that is. But I bet I went a step above, and I was probably like, they don't see us.
Exactly. That's the experience of like, we just need literal movement. If they're focusing on us, then Patty and Neil aren't doing their job correctly. If they're focusing on us in the background, they're not doing their job correctly.
Yeah. That is so funny, though. God, and you're so small. You're so small. Every time I'm like, oh my God, this little child.
We both are. Us little cute little muffins.
I know. Okay, so did we already do this? Your Christmas Eve? Brick, stop talking? No.
Christmas Eve.
Here we go. Next up. It's Christmas Eve. And Brick has stopped talking because Mike said if he continues to whisper, Santa won't come, which was great. Well, I knew as soon as I was like, oh, what did he do? I couldn't remember. I actually couldn't remember. And then I was like, that's fantastic. Great. When Frankie gets upset at his tactic, Mike almost comes this close to admitting that Christmas is in fact quite hard. I think he was ultimately, honestly, very underutilized in the show just because he's an actual comedic genius. But what he was given to do was he just like hit it out of the park. It's hard to make someone laugh when you're really kind of the straight man, and he does it. He does it. He does it.
And then Mike and the kids oversleep in front of the TV and race out the door to church. The fireplace on TV, I thought that was a Netflix thing.
Same. And I guess that's where Netflix got it from. No, they clearly, that's a thing. I also was like, oh my God, that's a thing? That's like a thing on, I felt such like a little millennial being like, oh my God, it's like they copied Netflix.
And of course, frenzied chaos trying to get everyone out the door to church.
And yes, I'm very excited to talk to Julia, honestly, because there were so many. I loved all the wardrobe stuff. I loved the Axel and the boxers. I loved the established, like that's Frankie's coat. Like that is actually Frankie's coat. The one that Brick is wearing, that maintains. That's like, I don't know if that was the establishment of her coat, but maybe it wasn't. But like they have good details like that, where they're like, yes, we're going to keep it consistent so that little touches, nice touches to make it feel. You don't know why it feels real, but it's like, oh yes, that's real. Okay, so of course, the family arrives at church in the middle of the performance, which again, when we filmed, I just accepted the logic. I was like, I don't understand. This isn't a real thing. Why are they trying to push this logic of like late night? Like, what's the point of this? Like, why are they trying to do this fake thing? Of like midnight church that was like a rave church. But so we go in, middle of the performance, obviously Frankie is furious, and in the car, during the big explosive fight, the car spins out, almost crashes twice. I do like that detail, that they do it the first time and you think it's going to be like, oh my God, but we just keep fighting. then it happens again. Finally, Mike admits that Christmas is hard. We all admit that we're just grateful to be alive.
Yes. Okay. How did you feel? Do you remember how you filmed the car scene with the spin out?
No, I do not. I didn't even remember that happened.
Eden, that is the point of this podcast. That is the point of this podcast. I need you to remember.
I know.
I told Cameron, I said, I'm going to ask if they like actually moved the car or if it was a camera thing.
I think it was both. I think definitely what they, because I know from other things, what they do is they put the camera on the hood of the actual car. Obviously, it's in front of a green screen. They put it on, and the car is on a big, I don't know if it's called a rig or whatever, but like it's on a big platform, basically.
Platform, right? That probably goes like this, right?
Yes. And they can tilt it, not mechanically. There are like men, like big burly men, 4 men on each side. No, sorry, 2 on each side. And they are controlling, like with, their actual bodies. They're controlling how it goes. And so I think they are, so that the camera, it's like an illusion. Like the camera goes one way and they actually do tilt the car the other way. And then it's also, you also do a lot with just like our body language of like, all right, everyone goes to the left. It like reads more real than you'd think.
Well, because I was going to say, I was wondering if they even needed a tilt if they did the camera along with your body movement. But I'm sure like the platform, if it is the platform, is not going this. It's all you need is this, so that then your bodies and then the steering wheel and the camera move make it look like it's more dramatic than it is, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And I should say, like, it's not a big tilt. It's like teensy tiny. And I might be wrong. There's gonna be like a grip out there who's like, what is she talking about? That never happened. That's not what happened. I'm pretty sure it was something like that, though.
That moment of that quietness after the second spin, that is such a specific feeling and experience. That quiet, great. song, Mom. It resonated because I don't know. It's so unique and it's so tiny, that experience. But oh my gosh, you know exactly what it is when you see it, and I knew exactly what that feeling was when I saw it.
Yeah, because no one actually, especially with something like that, I feel like the moment could have been like a campy, like a cheesy, like, I'm so grateful to be like, oh. And instead it's just everyone being like, I really don't want to do this. I don't want to say sorry, but we all have to because we did almost die. So let's just do it. Let's just do it.
Yeah. And then in our final scene of the episode, it's Christmas morning and Sue barges in tears. She discovered Brad was doing something with another boy, smoking.
I turned, I'm probably wrong, but I was like, I'm so sensitive. I'm so sensitive to gay panic in like, especially older things where I'm like, oh my God, how could they do whatever? And I was like, oh wow, that's like a little homophobic. The way Mike is just like, break, leave the room. Oh, leave the room. And they're like, you know, wincing, like, and I said this to Nick. I said this to my husband, where I was like, was that just me? Like, could they have reacted just like a little differently? And he was like, you know, I was really surprised because he's usually even more sensitive than me. And he was like, I think they were wincing out of like love for their daughter. Like, oh,
I think that was it.
I think that was it. I just am like very quick to be like, be more tolerant.
You're just that typical LA liberal. That's what you are.
I am.
But I do. It's every single time. I'm very, very surprised that they kept all those of like taking it with another boy, taking turns. We talk a lot about, oh, this show is a family show. I was like, that is, ooh, that. I mean, if you only know what that is if you know what that is, but even still, that's a very racy kind of line. These LA liberals injecting that into the into the script.
Well, do you remember this? Okay, this is not for this episode, but I remember there was a line that I didn't even understand at the time from many episodes, like 4 or 5 episodes ago, I feel like, where, or maybe it was actually just 3 episodes ago, where Brick says he's hiding under the table. It was he didn't want to go into, he wanted to have his bed under the table. The line, you know the one I'm talking about? Where he's like,
the squeaking.
Axel's, you're squeaking. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I can't believe they put that. Like, I guess that's why they can put it in, because like if you don't get it, it goes over your head. You just think it's squeaking, and then if you do get it, you're like, oh, I guess that's funny. Like it is funny, but it made me kind of uncomfortable because it was Charlie. But anyway,
that was a fantastic episode. I really like that episode. And when we come back, we're going to find out all about the costuming with our costume designer, Julia Caston.
There she is.
There you guys are. Oh my goodness.
So our guest today, not many people on this podcast or in life know what kind of underwear Brock and I wear, but this guest today, she not only knows, she's bought it for us. She has seen it all. She has been the costume designer on a million projects, including Bad Moms, A Bad Mom's Christmas, Great News. Oh my God, you did Great News? Mr. Mayor, splitting up together. Of course, the unaired, wonderful pilot that we're all going to see one day. Well, I've seen it. Susu in the City. And almost the entire run of The Middle. You didn't do the whole thing? What did you not do?
No, I didn't get to do the pilots because I heard there were more than one pilots. I came in, I think on the 8th episode. It was Thanksgiving episode.
Okay, so you were basically, that's barely, that's the first 7. Her creativity, this woman's creativity shines in every single one of the outfits you have seen on screen. You know it. Every outfit is iconic, I've been told. And I'm always like, I didn't pick them. Like, I agree, but I can't say thank you because I didn't pick them. She brings your favorite characters to life, including me and Brock. We are thrilled. We are so thrilled to have you.
My favorite.
Our fabulous, iconic designer of iconic outfits, Julia Caston. the middle.
Yay!
From the middle, our costume designer.
Oh,
Is that the craziest intro?
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Julia, thank you so much for doing this with us.
Of course. I mean, it's a pleasure. I can't even believe that you asked me. I'm like flabbergasted.
Well, of course, obviously. I think I didn't realize that your first episode was the Thanksgiving episode, which was also my first episode. And what's crazy is, like, I feel even before it was like the table, my first time on, like, after meeting G and everything with the casting process, my like first step into the world was a costume fitting before the table read. And so you were like it's so funny. You were my first introduction into the middle world. And it's so nice. And I had no idea that you were also taking your first footsteps into the middle world as well at the same exact time, because you just made me feel so special and so welcome, because I had no idea what the hell I was doing.
You and your mom, I remember, was like, oh, these people are so nice. And your smile, I'll never forget your smile when we first met. I just thought, this kid is so cute, and his smile, and he lights up a room. And for me, you're fitting, because I watched, I'm like, oh, I was really getting my footing in the show, because when you come into a show that's not yours, you want to be respectful, but also you want to like see what direction you guys, you want to do for the characters. So you were one of the first characters that I got to like do all on my own. I'm like, I'm going to do this for this character. You were one of the first people that I got to like develop.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Scratch.
Well, that is an interesting question. Coming into a show where you didn't do the pilot and even the first handful of episodes, what's that like, coming into like work and characters that have already sort of established, like, with their color palette and their silhouettes and their style and what do they wear? So where do you take what they've done and where do you interject your own kind of spin, which is the reason they brought you on, and they didn't have the other person stay on?
Well, the other person was doing a great job. I think what the problem was, when I got there were no clothes. Like, I remember really distinctly that there were no clothes. There were like...
What?
She was costuming it. She was coming from a point of view that was like, they're poor, so they don't have any clothes, right? And when I walked in and saw how many days, because the one thing about the middle was that we had a million flashbacks and a million flash forwards and a lot of days. So every episode had, you guys had like, I think Eden at one point, I think she had like 12 costumes in per episode. It was a lot of clothing. And what I noticed was when I got there wasn't any clothes. So I did, I saw your palette, which was really cute, and I liked it, and I kind of jumped off from there. Like, the strawberry thing was already established in the first 5 episodes, but I was like, I'm going to take strawberries, and we're going to run with strawberries.
Yeah.
But it was really about gathering resource, because we just didn't have any. And, it's like, just because a character on TV is poor, that doesn't mean that they don't have clothing, and the audience wants to see clothing. They don't want to see the same sweatshirt over and over and over and over again, right? You want to see a character have a point of view and have a palette and have fun things, and that kind of makes it fun to watch the show. So that's the first thing I had to do, which is like respect what was already there, but also just pile it on, because there just was so many holes in the closets.
I do want to know, because like we always ask people, how did the middle come into your life? But this was like coming in halfway or third way through the season. It feels like it has an actual story. And like you said, like you came in and there were no clothes. Did someone who contacted you? How did this happen?
I had worked with Werner Wallian before on other shows, and he called me in and said, would I like to come in and do the show? And I was like, yeah, of course, I'd love to. It seems like a really fun project. Blah, blah. I watched a couple of the episodes that had already been shot. They let me see them. What I think was the issue was that the pace of the show in which we shot and how much there was to do could freak someone out, right? It could be like, how can I do 20 costumes on one person? You know, there are like 70 costumes in 1.5 hour show, which is a lot. And the middle kind of averaged like 50 to 70 costumes per show, which is a lot, right? Wow. For 21 minutes.
Yeah.
22 minutes. So I think what happened was the woman that had done the pilots hadn't figured out the rhythm of how to do that. And I think it was wearing on her. When I came in, I was like, I'm kind of dumb that way. I'm just like, I'll figure it out. Whatever. It's fine. But Thanksgiving being the first episode, I really do remember because we had a whole new crew. The whole crew left, not just the designer. So we were all new, and we read the script, and we all looked at each other and were like, there are so many clothes that need to happen for this, and gags and doubles, and it was definitely like trial by fire. But I came into it from Werner Wallian, and he was super sweet, and I love him, and very nice, beautiful man, and he believed in me, and that's how I came to it, you know? Like, he believed in me, and I believed in myself. Like, I can do this.
Yeah. We talk a lot about, like, sitcom rules as we kind of go through. When Eden and I walk through, like, the stories or the episodes, we talk about, like, sitcom logic. And also, I think what you're talking about with multiple costumes, there's sitcom logic when it comes to clothing. Because it's interesting you say that, you know, they're poor, they don't have a lot of money. Of course, they, you know, won't have the most amount of clothing. But what I've noticed, which I think does the work for you, is, like, of course, we want to keep it interesting with different tops and all that kind of stuff. But, like, everyone's, like, parkas and winter jackets always stayed the same, at least in these first couple seasons. And that's what I remember, where it's like, oh, of course, they have the same jacket. That to me reads as like, oh, yes, they only have one parka for the winter, and that's the one that they wear. And that kind of gives me that sitcom logic of like, okay, they don't have a lot of that stuff, but we can. Exactly. So there is a little bit of like sitcom logic of like, we still want to keep it interesting and visually appealing for viewers as well.
The aesthetic of the middle is not naturally what I know. When I got the job and watched the episodes, I thought to myself, I can't do this. I don't know how to do these clothes. I don't know how to make these. It's not what I do naturally, right? I'm always like, I want to make it tight, and I want to make it fitted, and I want to make it black and sleek. Mm-hmm. And so to be on the middle was, it was like a lesson for me to calm down, you know, embrace the material, embrace the actors, service the comedy, make sure that you guys had things on your body that never hindered you. You know, I think Eden and I definitely had stuff where I was like, you can't wear this, it's cutting you, or it's too tight, or, you know, because you had so much physical comedy. So it really made me stop and realize how important it was to service the material and to service the actors.
It's really crazy that you felt like you couldn't do this, or this wasn't your sensibility, because had you done, I mean, you worked with Warner. I know Warner usually does comedy. Like, had you done comedy before?
Oh, yeah. No, I've done comedy. Okay. I started in sitcoms. No, I had definitely done comedy. It was this specific Midwestern family vibe that I had not done. I mean, my first job was a Midwestern sitcom, but I didn't really have very much creative control over it. I was a costumer. But it just wasn't my, you know, when you're little, you read Vogue and you read Ellen, and you just want everything like beautiful and expensive, and you know, this was like, no, calm down, just do this.
I have to be honest here. Knowing this now, because I think that's so shocking to me, because it seems like you got it so quickly, but I'm realizing I actually think your lack of, like, you're coming from this place of like just utter chicness. I think but it really made the show what it was, because I don't think anyone would look at the wardrobe on the middle and say, it'd be like the first word would be chic, or, you know, like, yes, magazine cover. But I think that's the thing, is that when people say, like, again, people are constantly, even the ones in the first 4 seasons, which I'm like, I feel like a lot of Sue's clothes from the last 4 or 5 seasons, or specifically the last 2 seasons, like, I took all of them and wrapped. I really just like this. I think those are super iconic. But people from the first few seasons, they use the word iconic. They're like, these are iconic outfits. Yeah. And I think there's like the energy of chic with the actual on paper aesthetic of average Midwestern. Brock and I talk about this a lot with like comedy. If you're playing, let's say the character is boring, you can't actually play someone boring because then it's boring.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed.
So it's like, if you're not trying, if it's like, oh, they're poor, you don't actually, if you don't have a lot of clothes, or if you have only stuff from actual Goodwill, it's not gonna read. It's just not. That's not what it's a different medium. It's not real life. It's media. It's television.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I
it's
think
television, and you want to be aspirational to your audience, no matter who you are. We want little girls all over the country to look up to Sue and to be like, I want that sweatshirt. I want to be her.
Yeah.
And that was important to me to give those girls that connected with Sue a place to feel like that could be me, so that's where that came from. But I decided, I don't even know if Deanna and I'd probably get in trouble, but I decided that the show was just supposed to be taking place in the 90s, even though it wasn't. So I would tell everybody that
I think everyone could tell.
Like, we only get, we're only going to do 80s and 90s clothes. So pull 80s and 90s clothes. I don't want really that many modern things. So that was the first steps of finding the palette for the show. It's a very 90s palette, very 90s palette colors and pastels. And
if you had gone like specifically with the trends of that time, I think the show would look dated. And weirdly, because you went not in the present, like the clothes not of the present time, the show looks much more timeless.
I know. I was actually, not to toot my own horn, but I was watching the Christmas episode, and I thought these are all pretty standard silhouettes. Nothing is bumping me that looks like I can't watch it. It looks like I could continue to watch it. And some of the things that we built for Sue end up now are in stores. Like, I'll go into Urban Outfitters and I'll see something and I'll say, like, I think I made that sweatshirt for Sue.
It's astounding to me. Honestly, even by like 2018, I remember being like, what is happening? Is no one seeing this? Am I getting gaslit by the world? Being like, no, this is original. It's like, this is from Sue. These are straight out of Sue's. These sweater vests? Are you joking? What?
Tom, who worked with me from the third season, I think Tom was part of our, and you guys both know Tom. He would say the same thing. He texts me all the time, pictures of things like, can you believe this? And I'm like, no, it's crazy.
So Julia, you come in, right? And what's then the process where you're saying, okay, the previous person didn't have a lot of just like inventory to pull from. So what's your like next step? Do you just go shopping? Do you pull from Warner Brothers archives? Is it a combination of both?
Yeah, it was the thing where because I think we had the hiatus week before you started shooting the Thanksgiving. We had the hiatus week, and we just went out in mass to every store in LA. I mean, we pulled a mountain of clothes because I wanted to have closets. At the beginning of a season of a show, you pull a closet so that each actor has their stuff. That's, when you went onto the trailer towards the end of the seasons, you'd see how many clothes everybody had. That was a collection over years, right? So I needed that. So we just went out and we shopped. And then we did fittings. I think I did fittings with everybody during hiatus to get to know you guys and to, and I asked, like, what do you not like? What do you not like about your character right now? And can I help with that? Can I change it?
Okay, so Julia, you built up the inventory, and then I guess for I mean, Eden and I know a little bit, probably not all the intricacies, but I feel like our audience doesn't quite necessarily know. On, let's say it's like the most normal episode you could imagine. Maybe there's a couple guest stars, first time, one and done guest stars, and obviously the 5 hex. What does that look like from your perspective, from like getting the script and shopping and like you're not needing to go get crazy things for Sue, you're pulling from the archives. What, like, walk us through your typical week for a typical episode.
Okay, so like you guys, we would always start at the table read. And then we would have a production meeting where I would ask Dan and Eileen all the questions. You know, are there doubles? Are there going to be any stunts? What's the specialty thing? Is there any clothing gags? You know, is it like something where there's going to be soup spilled on Sue, or is she going to fall over the couch, or, you know, any gags and what they wanted to see. Because it all comes from Dan and Eileen's, you know, answers to those questions. And then I would take the script and break it down, see how many costumes Eden needed, how many costumes Charlie needed, and break it down so that we had all the things. And I do a thing after that called family meeting, where I'd get my whole crew and we'd sit in my office and I'd go down each thing. So like, okay, for this week, Patricia needs a new jacket, right? Or Patricia needs new pants, or she needs this. And I'd give them a shopping list, basically. And I do the same thing for every single character. And if I had something new, like, oh, Brock's coming in again, I really want more sweater vests for him. I want him to have, like, I'm going to lean into the pastels. So let's find some pastels for him and whatever. So I'd go through each character very, very detailed and give everyone a directive. And then they'd go out and get it. Right? And then once everything was back, I make sure everything was there. And then I'd invite you guys for a fitting. And from that fitting, I would pull outfits. And then on Wednesday nights, after everyone was gone, I would pull a whole rack of clothes in the order of the days. So how many days in a script? 5 days, 6 days. And then each character behind Frankie. So Frankie, then Mike, then all the way down. And then after that was done, I'd invite Deanne and Eileen to come to the trailer and I'd walk them through. So this is what she'll be wearing. This is what he'll be wearing. This is what's going to happen.
Love you.
And until it was done. And then they'd give notes like, oh no, I don't like that sweater for Sue, or I don't know. And the thing about a 5-person family and guest stars is keeping everybody out of each other's clothing. So only one person's wearing blue, right? Only one person's wearing pink. And the colors inside of the heck house, making sure that nobody was a floating head. So that was the other thing. Working with Randy, our production designer, to say like, okay, if you're going to change the wall color, I need to know, because in the heck house, the wall colors were so vibrant that... Right. You know, I'd have to be like, oh, it's clashing. So just making sure that that was all cohesive. And then after that, everything went to tailor shop on the alterations that we did do. And if there was anything missing, sometimes Deanne and Eileen would say, like, I don't like anything here. And we would have to go out and shop until like 11 o'clock or whatever, and then bring it back and make sure that they approved it and then move from there. So, you know, most of the time, I have to say it was pretty great that they liked everything we pulled and it was perfect. And sometimes there were little snags. And then we prepped it. It came back in, and then you guys would see it in your trailer on Monday mornings.
Yeah.
Yes, we would.
So is there never, maybe I don't know, is there like an archive at Warner Brothers that like you can go pull from other shows and stuff like that? When do you go shopping versus when are you pulling stuff that like is already established where you don't have to spend extra money and you can just go to Warner Brothers? Or I assume you don't have to spend extra money if you're pulling something from Warner Brothers.
Yeah, Warner Brothers has a huge warehouse filled with clothes. So for Ehlert or the staff at Ehlert, we would go there and pull clothes from there and then augment by shopping. For you guys, because it was 90s, they have a great inventory of vintage clothing. So I really utilized their vintage clothing. But also Walt Disney Company has a big storage or warehouse. So does Universal. So there's a lot of places to go and to pull from. So we would do that, and then we would go shopping as well.
But did you need to return it after? Because we kept it. I feel like.
So then once everything is decided, like I think you remember going in and there'd be a rack of clothing. I'm a little bit of a keeper, I'm a little hoardy. So I would take like, I like all of these sweater vests for Brock. I don't want to return any of them. But most of the time you'd return like, 3/4 of a rack would go back to the thing. And they would do that on Monday morning or throughout the week. They would do returns.
I have no idea if this is interesting to anyone else. I might cut this, but I find this interesting. So when it comes to budgeting, because each department gets a certain budget for the season, when it comes to stuff like that, when are you deciding, or how do you kind of plan out your budget? If you're like, okay, well, I need at least 5 of these same shirts that we're buying from wherever for Sue, because things need to spill on them and we need to make sure we have backups. But you're like, that eats into the budget from this episode. How do you navigate all of that? And did you ever catch yourself needing to go back to Warner and being like, baby, I need more money? Or are you just like, you're given what you're given and you've got to make it work?
Yes. You get the idea of a budget from Warner. Like Warner would say, okay, it's this amount of money for every episode. But we would turn in a specific budget allocated for that specific episode, which sometimes was under the budget and sometimes it was over the budget. So most of the time it worked out in the wash, right? Like if we had to build something. Now, if I had to build like a cube or a Donnie and Marie outfit or a wagon wheel then those were specialty costumes, and those would
Sandy
be
Danny.
Oh yes, exactly. Then it would be above and beyond where the money was. But they're really great, and because our baseline was generous, we never really went over or under. But yeah, you are given a set amount that's like a suggestion per episode, and you either come in under or over. And at the end of the season, they, Warner would be like, you were over $15,000 or whatever, or, you were under at the end of the season. So then they adjust the budget for the next year. But I feel like as the seasons went on, we got revved up, Felt like we had more gags and more things.
Yeah.
I think also, yes, we had way more gags. I feel like we had a lot of stunts. We had a lot more, I feel like Sue had a number of, ball gowns for whatever reason.
Yeah, exactly.
One of which had cheese spilled all over it. As the seasons went on, I think people don't realize what makes an outfit look, and this sort of goes back to your original point, or my original point, about just, how we couldn't have done this without your chic sensibilities. I think, Sue's wardrobe, for instance, it was a true combination of, true, I feel like, $8 thrifted pants and, $200 tops.
Yeah.
Some of those sweaters were designer. And they didn't, or whatever, designer for Bloomingdale's. But and when you put it together, it did not look that way. It looked perfect. And if it was a thrifted shop or thrifted top with the thrifted bottoms, it just didn't look good. It just didn't look like something aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, that was a fight that I'd gotten in a few times with Werner, because he would look at the receipts and he'd go, why is there a $400 sweater on this receipt? Why are we buying $400 sweaters? And my thing was, go to the truck and find the $400 sweater. Find the $400 sweater. Because my point was that it doesn't matter how much something costs if it works for the actor, if it works for the character, right? So you're right. If I was appliquing a $20 shirt from Target, or if I was buying some crazy Japanese brand that was very normcore or whatever, it was a balance. So eventually I won that fight, even though Warner did.
And then do you ever, as a costume designer, see, because I do remember, I forget when it was, but I had I only wore it a couple of times, but the first time I wore it, it was a blue Burberry jacket. and I literally only wore it. I walked in the front door of the Heck House, and I took it off and threw it by the front door, or I put it on the, and then that's all you saw of it. Are there ever moments when you're like, okay, so that's all we used it. We better use it in another episode.
Yes, there was. There's stuff like, if I did buy a Burberry jacket, I would say we better use it in another episode. Otherwise, I'd feel really wasteful. But sometimes it's the right jacket. What are you going to do?
Of course.
Yes.
I looked great in it. You made me look fantastic in that blue Burberry jacket. I'll never forget.
I mean, the other thing to remember is the palette of the Hex. And if you found a bright blue jacket somewhere, if that jacket was $2,000, our team was so desperate to find these colors in the world that it was like Christmas, every time you found something that was bright and vibrant and colorful, because that wasn't what was happening when we started the show out in the world. It wasn't the norm to see a brightly colored anything. So when we found it, it was like, oh my God, for a while, the shirts that were working the best on Brick were made by Levi's, but the Japanese version of Levi's for every shirt was like $150 for those little t-shirts. But we took man-sized t-shirts and cut them down to little, because the stripes were vintage looking and they were the right color. And so we would do that. So it was just like, find the right thing for the show, because that's the right thing.
I have two questions for you. One is, I feel like should be a little bit simple or like a straightforward answer, but I've always wanted to ask you when the I think I wanted to ask this because I know the answer. You were talking about it at some point 80,000 years ago, but when Sue made Cross Country and they put me in that Forsaken sweatshirt.
Yes.
Was that frustrating for you? Because you couldn't do anything.
No,
is that a leading question?
I did say, can we bedazzle it? Or, can I applique on it? No. It wasn't frustrating because it served your character, right? So I had to live with it.
So just me then.
Yeah, it was, I remember here we go, the sweatshirt. It did skew the color palette a lot, though, because that yellow, all of a sudden you were in yellow in every single episode. And so that took yellow away from Axel. It took yellow away from Brick, that was their more normal colors to wear, right? But you had it because you were pinks and lavenders and light blues and butter yellows and mint. And so all of a sudden there wasn't that, and I can't put pink on Axel, right? Or I can't. So it was a little bit like, oh, okay, we just have to work around it, But I thought it worked for you. I mean, when I watch the episodes, it's like, it works.
It services the joke. It is funny. Yeah. I look at it and I'm like, triggered by like, never again. Don't get me near a sweatshirt. But I feel like you handled it beautifully by giving me different. Also, you really, really good. You really pulled it out with the different pants and a lot of the different necklaces. So
yeah.
you got major.
We found Reeboks. I remember we found Reeboks in those weird colors, also from possibly Japan, that were like just weird colors that we didn't have before. So once you went to sweatshirt on top, we tried to switch up the bottom more with like variable stuff.
we talk about a lot like the evolution of characters and how like with sitcoms you really do have to, the thing that makes it good or makes people feel safe about sitcoms is that nothing ever changes. However, you also, that can get boring. That can get so, if you do that too, there needs to be some growth. You did such a beautiful job having it like the evolution of Sue specifically and Sue's wardrobe, because I feel like you don't even notice until you really did, until I look at because we're rewatching it now and I haven't seen it in a while, and I know the clothes that I wore in seasons 8 and 9, and it felt perfectly exactly Sue. And then I look at these clothes from season 1 and I'm like, oh my God, they're completely different.
We worked really hard to and we worked with Dan and Eileen to not betray your character, but you were growing up. And what was one thing where I was like, please can she have like a V-neck? I think it was that or something else where it was like, please can she show something? I mean, like, can she, maybe can you start wearing a regular bra? I don't know. Maybe it was something like that where it was like, she's grown up.
Yeah.
Like, can we stop putting you in a controlled environment and more of a something? And
minimizer, like, strap down.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, let's slowly do this. Let's slowly do it. But every episode from when you cut your hair too, like we were just trying to make you grow up a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't too like a crazy thing, I wouldn't tell anybody. I would just do it. and if it was something like that I needed permission to do, like cleavage or something, you have to ask permission. So, or can we now not have these? Can Brick wear something besides a short sleeve, striped shirt? Can we move away? Can we start growing them up? You don't want to take away the thing that the audience loves so much, right? You want to have them have that safety. And that's the balance that you want the characters to grow up, but you don't want to lose the audience's love for those characters.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings us, that's a really nice transition into the spinoff, which you also did. So you did a wonderful job. Like Eden and I were texting a little bit about it this morning, but like, I vividly remember like all the jumpsuits you had for her, right? You looked fabulous, Eden, and you made her look fabulous, Julia. Like, what would Sue wear when she goes to Chicago for her first real job? And you did a really nice job. I think like every single aspect of this industry, whether it's writing, whether it's costumes, whether it's makeup, whether it's hair, whether it's any iteration of any of it, whether it's set design, like what does their apartment look like? It's all within telling the story, and it's all character based. And I think the thing that you really nail, and especially it showed in the pilot, showing this time jump of however many years it was, 3-4 years, you understood Sue to a T.
Well, yeah, I love you guys. I mean, the thing I have to say, when you're on a show, and we're so lucky to have been on a show for 9 years, I remember talking to my crew at one point. There was some controversy or whatever, as there is in crews, and I remember saying to them, "This is it, guys. This is the show that they say that if you're really good and, an angel comes down and gives you, because this is the show that you come to work, everybody, everyone is beautiful, all the actors are sweet, we have enough money, we have enough time. This is the show. So please let's not complain and enjoy it for what it is." Right. But I realized that like, I had a lot of affection for the cast. And so I never wanted to do anything that would, like I said before, hinder their performances. I wanted to service you guys. And I know that sounds weird to be like, but I really just wanted to lift you as actors up and make you do the best that you could do, help you do the best that you could do. I just wanted to have you guys soar. And I felt whiplash that we didn't get picked up.
We all did.
Us
we
too.
all did.
I was like, what the hell? It was the best show ever.
Well, Julia, the affection you have for actors and the care you take of them, it shows from us. Like it was very much appreciated. I think there's like a lot of acting is a very cushy job, but it also is work, and we're able to. It feels cushy because you take care of us, and hair takes care of us, and the PAs take care of us. But like, it makes you doing that and seeing the care and affection and the love you have for your job makes us do better work, and I hope makes it enjoyable for you. It feels like this really nice copacetic relationship, and all that didn't go unnoticed from, I know I'm speaking for both Eden and I.
I feel like we as a cast were really, really easygoing in like almost every single way. And especially like Patty and I really, because we're both focused on the funny. We have like we had no like vanity size, like no vanity sizing, no vanity clothes, like no one. We had no ego about like, fine, make us look bad. I don't care. It's for the funny, right?
Yeah.
It's for the character. I don't care.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you do have to be okay. You do have to like the way you look. Just the way you look, it will affect your performance. And that goes for hair, makeup, but the clothes you're wearing, you really have to feel good enough, even if it is for the joke, even if I'm wearing a big potato sack, like I have to know that potato sack is looking whatever. And you always did this thing, always, because sometimes it can be a little scary, especially when you've established yourself as an easygoing person or like, I'll wear anything. If in a fitting, you would do this thing that was like, if you could tell that we were uncomfortable, even if you were like, yeah, Eileen and Deanne, I know that they're going to love this sweater. If you could tell that I just like was fidgeting or didn't like it, you were like, it's out. We're throwing it. It's done. No. Oh, we never bought it. Oh, what sweater? No. And you were like, we'll find something else. Because you're going to feel good. You have to feel good. And you never made us be you never let us be the bad guy. And it was just like, that doesn't go unnoticed.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's something that I've learned a long time ago, I guess. I just feel like, why offer up something that's not going to work for the actor? If there's, I call it the hunt for Red October. Why hunt for Red October when you can just pick something else? That's okay. You can just pick something else. So
it is interesting too, talking about stuff like that where you're able to part with things you're not married. We talked about this with Vijay Patel, one of the writers, where he said, I don't have a problem killing off jokes. If it's not working, it's not working. I'm cutting it. And it feels kind of the same way of like, okay, I'm pulling the sweater. I really like it, but if it's not working, it's not working. Bye. It's gone. It's a very precious quality to have in any sort of creative field. I think that's a very precious quality to have.
You guys, I didn't know this was going to be like a crying fest. I feel so emotional.
Well, I'm going to strip you of those emotions, and we're going to now quiz you on your middle trivia. So don't hang out in those emotions too long. Get prepped.
Okay.
We'll start out. Here's our blue bag because, of course, we're very detail oriented, just as you were. We're very detail oriented on this podcast.
I love it.
So, in season 2, Brad and Sue competed in a thing called Square Dancing with the Stars. I'm pretty sure made us custom outfits. What color were those outfits?
Purple.
Yes.
Boom.
Ding, ding, ding.
Easy.
Nice.
That one I got.
There she is. All right.
Actually, lavender.
This is number 2. We're moving on from that. You nailed it.
Okay.
Multiple choice. Which one of these was not a Halloween costume of Sue's?
Okay.
We got A, pink crayon, B, hippie, C, dice,
Hippie.
D, bellhop. Yeah, it's me.
We didn't even do.
Yeah.
Hippie.
Do you know who was the hippie?
Yes, Mama.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, you do remember. See, you were worried for nothing.
Yeah.
Well, no, because I made that vest for Patty. I remember making that vest for Patty, and I had to have a double of it. It was vintage, and I was like, oh, I have to make it. And it was red suede. And the original one came from Palace Costume, but we had to make a dupe of it. So.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Oh, you have
I can't believe that's in my brain.
There's a lot of stuff in recording this podcast that is like, oh, how did that? Where did that come from? Where did that hide?
Okay, so rapid fire. We're taking just a tiny little sabbatical from middle trivia. So rapid fire. Okay. Who was your favorite character to dress or shop for on the middle?
Sue.
Yeah.
You don't have to say that.
I know I don't. I love shopping for you. I love making things for you. It was fun.
We got another rapid fire, and this is it is fun, but also a little. It's not a trick question. The nicest guest star who came in for a fitting.
Oh my God, Brooke Shields was so sweet and let me do the most horrendous thing to her. Like she just, she was the sweetest, kindest, most soft-spoken and game person. She just came to the show like, I'll do whatever. And for someone to be that gorgeous and that beautiful, inside and out, and let me do this horrible thing to her. I feel like I just, it was bad what I did to her. I look at the costumes and I'm like, oh my God, she let me do that. So yeah, Brooke Shields.
Final question. And you'll probably get this because you watched the episode, which I love. From this episode, what color were the choir robes?
Oh God, I really had a hard time with They're red, and then they have a yellow stole. And I watched that thinking to myself, like, oh my God, how did you let that happen? Because there were little bits of white right here. And
right.
I was watching with my husband, and I was like, why the heck didn't I top stick that? Why is there white right here? I hated that. And he's like, you need to calm down. I was like, it's terrible.
Well, the reason we wanted to bring you on for this episode in particular is that there was a lot of, for what would quote unquote seems like a normal episode. There wasn't any huge big like Halloween costume, but you're doing those choir robes. There's a ton of background in, in the church scenes. They're doing, you have the church clothes for the heck. It's not their everyday uniform. You had a lot to do in this particular episode.
Yeah. We did. But like I said, I just got the job. So I was really in go mode at that point.
You weren't fatigued yet.
I wasn't. I was like, let's do it. We got it. Let's go. And, it was, I have to say the first couple episodes, I was still finding my footing, but we were working really hard, but we were, I was trying to make a good impression too. So we just did it.
And you did it. You did it so well. So much so that I didn't even realize that you weren't on from from the very first episode. I knew you didn't do the pilot, but I was positive. I do not no shade to this other person, but I do not remember another person other than you. It was always you.
Thank you. I'm brainwashed you in every fitting.
Yeah.
well, Julia, thank you so much for being here.
Of course. You guys are amazing. And I hope that we get to work together again because you're incredible, both of you. You're both incredible actors. And anytime I can help out with that, I'm here for you.
Well, I'm going to be calling you because I have something I do need your help with.
Okay. Call me.
We'll have to have you back when there's another episode and there's like a really big like specialty Halloween costume or something like that. We'd love to have you for something like that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no problem. Absolutely.
Yay.
Okay, that was fantastic. I love Julia. I can't say it enough. She's just the best. I love speaking with her. She's kooky. She's smart, and she just knows a lot. And she always wants to help. What a good person. What a good person.
Yeah.
We have so many good people working on this show.
She was the perfect person to welcome me into the middle world. Fabulous.
So now we have our listener question. Brock is so excited for this, and I'm gonna really disappoint with my answer.
Know what it is.
The question is, what did you buy with your first check from the middle? Nick, did my husband write this? You can just ask me.
What did you buy? Because you were a Sarah's regular on a show before that, so you're making good money. Did you have like a first purchase when you had big Hollywood money?
No, because here's the thing. I grew up with no money. Like it was, I told like single mom. She was a public school teacher, LUSD. Yeah. It's criminal what they pay their teachers. Single mom, 3 kids. So we didn't have any money. And so I started working really young. And so I, from the age of like 11 or 12, had my own money that I used to pay for like things. Like it wasn't like it was saving. It was saving, and then I like paid for my own car insurance when I was like 15. So it's like, no, I didn't have like an extravagant thing. So when I was like 17, 18, I moved out of my house when I was 18, and so I used that money that I had saved and like residuals from commercials. I like started renting my own apartment.
That's a fun one. Are you kidding? That's not boring.
Is that okay? I also did make a very, very big purchase that I still have to this day, I will say. Was a Vitamix. I bought like a $500 blender, and I still have it.
I feel like those appliances are always, they seem insignificant, but when you're in your 30s, they're very exciting purchases.
Oh, absolutely. I got an immersion blender.
Oh.
Girl.
I see them use it all the time on the Food Network, and it feels too fancy for me. I would not know what to do with it. All I do is...
That's something I got for Christmas.
Oh, look at that. She loves the holiday spirit.
I do. That is actually something I think about it all the time. I'm like, yes, because that counts a little as an experience because I experience it all the time.
It was
What
so
about
when
you?
I started making money from this was years and years and years later after, a couple seasons and I had a nice, healthy savings. When I needed a new car, I went to the Ford of Orange County and I bought a used 2014 Ford Focus and I paid for it in full in cash and it felt so good. Like it was like $12,000 for, I don't know, probably had like 60,000 miles on it or however much it was. And it just felt nice. And the person sitting behind the desk it felt pretty good. He was gobsmacked that I said, oh, no, I'm going to pay for it all in cash. And he said, oh, okay. So that felt like that was the only like truly the biggest thing I've ever purchased or certainly the biggest check I've ever written. But that felt good. That felt really good.
Absolutely. I have to say there is no greater feeling than I feel like this used to happen all the time because I was young, but I also looked really young when I would walk into like a West Elm or something when I was like furnishing my new apartment or whatever. Actually, when I moved right next door to Charlie, I got really new furniture because then I had 3 seasons of money and I was like, okay, I'm going crazy at Anthropology in West Elm. And I remember them being like people helping me and being like, trying to be like, what do your parents do?
Yeah,
like, what?
where is your?
And sometimes I would get the question like, are you engaged? Or like, what does your boyfriend do? And I would be like, I'm sorry, I know we're trying not to curse, but like, you. Oh, like actually, this is all my money. It's not my daddy.
Yeah.
It's not my mommy. It's not my parents. It's me. Like,
I'm a modern woman and a Hollywood star, damn it. And you walked out and you slammed the door.
Yeah, I did. And I had an empty apartment.
No, I love that. It is nice. It's especially because you didn't have money from like a family, because like you said, teacher salary, do you find yourself saving money as a result because that's how you kind of grew up? Or do you find like, well, I have the money now, so I am going to use it because I have it, because what use is it, just sitting and waiting?
A little bit of both. I'm like a perfect. But it's funny because now it's not the same as when I was a single person with active sitcom money.
Right, right.
Now I'm a family with a mortgage and 2 kids with no active sitcom money. Like I don't know how much money people think that I'm making, but like it's enough. It's enough, but it's not. I don't go to West Elm anymore. I'll tell you that much. Like I'm not going to Anthropology for a coffee table. I'm 100% going to IKEA because we're good. We're great. I'm not complaining, but like we're definitely saving. We're in a saving.
Of
like,
course.
Oh God, all of our money just goes to still these like damn
these children
these pull-ups for the night.
I mean, those are expensive, and having kids is expensive, and it's just your priorities and where you spend shift the older you get.
Yeah, it really does.
Nick, that was a very personal question, but I kind of liked it. Kind of liked those.
I loved it. Honestly, I love talking about money. Everyone should talk about money more. We should be more open about it. Anyway.
Yeah. Speaking about money, give us your money. Go to patreon.com. In all seriousness, though, if you do have disposable income and you like this podcast, the 2 best ways: one, the freest, most accessible, best way you could support us is a rating on wherever. If you're listening to this on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever it is, I'm sure they have a rating system. A quick little 5 stars and maybe even a little review that does wonders for us. But then also, if you find that you have a little bit of cash that's burning a hole in your pocket, and you're like, I do kind of want those extended episodes, or I want to be at the next live watch party, I want to be paired with Eden and maybe win or maybe lose middle trivia with Eden, you can sign up for the Ehlert's exclusive, but we have all different tiers for all different budgets.
Okay, Brock, I'm so happy that we got to have this alone time together. I love you so much.
Love you so much. I'll see you next week.
Yes. Bye.